continuing to journey in Surah al-Sajdah. As usual, Dr. Yamina will be leading the study, and we are welcome to join in with comments and questions, inshallah. So I turn to Dr. Yamina. Jazakumullah khair.
Thank you, Isra. أعوذ بالله السميع العليم من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم والصلاة والسلام على سيد المرسلين وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله تعالى وبركاته. Inshallah, I'd like to start with a prayer. This week, some of you are aware, the brother of our sister Sarah left this world. May he rest in peace. May his sins be forgiven. May God's infinite rahmah be upon him. Inna lillahi wa inna ilayhi raji'un. La ilaha illallah wa la hawla wa la quwwata illa billahi al-wahid al-ahad al-muhibbu li'ibadihi ar-rahman ar-rahim. اللهم انزل على أهله الصبر والسلوان وارضهم بقضائك. اللهم ارحمه برحمتك وتقبله عندك والحقنا بالصالحين مطيعين غير مذنبين. وصلى الله وسلم على من لا نبي بعده وعلى آله خير عبادك وقد وفيته من قبلنا وهو أحب إليك. Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar, walillahi alhamd. So this Inna lillahi wa inna ilayhi raji'un means we belong to God and unto Him we return. And it is from an ayah in Surah Al-Baqarah, the second chapter of the Quran. In that chapter, in ayah 156, I think, but from 157 to 155 to 157, we are told, and we will indeed test you with something of fear and hunger and loss of wealth, and souls and fruits, and give glad tidings to the patient. Those who, when affliction befalls them, they say, truly we belong to God and unto Him we return. Inna lillahi wa inna ilayhi raji'un. They are those upon whom come the blessings from their Lord, their Rabb, their sustainer, and compassion, the blessings and His compassion, and they are those who are rightly guided. So we say that in answer to this ayah. So inshallah, we need to be doing it with this awareness, knowing what is going on, that it is coming from Him, and that's why we accept whatever comes from Him. Everything belongs to Him, we do belong to Him, and to Him we are returning. To God belongs what He took, and to Him belongs what He gave, and He has set for everything an appointed time. And so it says they glad tidings, give glad tidings to the patients. They have patience because they know this. The believers have patience because, and so they seek God's love and mercy. So inshallah, let's recite Surah Al-Fatiha for his soul and for the souls of our beloveds who left this world before us. Lillahi al-Fatiha, silently, inshallah. Ameen. اللهم اجزنا عن الإحسان إحسانا وعن الإساءة عفوا وغفرانا. اللهم إن كن ادخلنا الجنة من غير مناقشة وحساب ولا سابقة عذاب. اللهم يمن كتابنا ويسر حسابنا وثقل بالحسنات ميزاننا وثبت على الصراط أقدامنا واسكننا في أعلى الجنات بجوار حبيبك ومصطفاك صلى الله عليه وسلم. اللهم أمنا من فزع يوم القيامة. اللهم احشرنا مع المتقين. اللهم احشرنا مع أصحاب اليمين واجعل تحيتنا سلاما لك من أصحاب اليمين. اللهم شفع فينا نبيك ومصطفاك عليه الصلاة والسلام واحشرنا تحت لوائه. اللهم ارحمنا إذا أتانا اليقين. اللهم ارحمنا إذا يأس منا الطبيب وبكي علينا الحبيب وتخلى عنا القريب والغريب. اللهم اغفر لنا واجمعنا معه مع رسولك في جنات النعيم يا رب العالمين. واللهم صل وسلم وبارك على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم إلى يوم الدين. آمين والحمد لله رب العالمين. Inshallah, may we be able to say as Muhammad Jalaluddin al-Rumi rahimahullah, who said, he said and wrote, when I die, when my coffin is being taken out, you must never think I'm missing this world. Don't shed any tears, don't lament or feel sorry. I'm not falling into a monster's abyss. When you see my corpse is being carried, don't cry for my leaving. I am not leaving, I am arriving at eternal love. When you leave me in the grave, don't say goodbye. Remember, a grave is only a curtain for the paradise behind. You'll only see me descending into a grave. Now watch me rise. How can there be an end? When the sun sets or the moon goes down, it looks like the end. It seems like a sunset, but in reality, it is a dawn. When the grave locks you up and your soul is freed. Have you ever seen a seed fall into earth, not rise with a new life? Why should you doubt the rise of a seed named human? Have you ever seen a bucket lowered into a well come back empty? Why lament for a soul when it came back like Yusuf from the well, when for the last time you close your mouth? Your words and soul will belong to the world of no place, no time. So you can see from the description, the grave is the place where the body will be buried, but the soul is what rises. The soul does not die. The soul is what we were told, I think in ayah 9 of this surah, that is breathed into us, into the body, from His Spirit. God breathes it from His Spirit, and that becomes who we are, human being. So the soul does not die in that sense. And that's why death is a constant reality, as we're reminded in the Quran. It is a companion, it is a teacher. It's like al-Khidr teaching Musa alayhi salam wisdom. And the phrase kullu nafsin dha'iqatul maut, every soul is bound to taste death, is repeated many times in the Quran. For instance, in Surah Ali Imran, the third surah, surah number 3 of the Quran, in ayah 185, we are told every soul is bound to taste death, and you will be paid in full only on the day of resurrection. Whoever is kept away from the fire and admitted to paradise will indeed be successful. And as for the life of this world, it is nothing but enjoyment of delusion. This is very, very important to remember, because if we can confirm the reality of this single ayah, for instance, then our whole life is going to be totally different. Our choices, our priorities, everything is going to change accordingly. It's saying the life of this world is nothing but enjoyment of delusion. And we did together talk about the meaning. What does it mean that the life of this world is nothing but enjoyment of the delusion? This world, in disconnection with its maker, its sustainer, has no reality, nothing. It is ephemeral, and therefore it has no substance to it. It has no future to it. It's like a delusion. And so that's why we are repeatedly reminded of the reality of death in the Quran, and we know that the Prophet, peace be upon him, alayhi salatu wassalam, used to remind his companions of death. And actually they said there was not one meeting when he would not remind them of death. And when we're talking about death, I'm not talking about only the day where we leave this world. One day, we don't know when. It could be this evening, could be tomorrow, could be in many years in the future. Let's remember that apart from that death, we are always leaving this world. There is only the now. Yesterday is not here. This morning is not here. Tomorrow is not here. We are always in a state of returning, in a state of leaving, and a state of coming into the world, coming into being. Let's remember that we're always only a breath away from death. Yet, subhanAllah, often people prefer to forget this reality. I say prefer because if you want to talk about it, people change the topic. They become restless. And why do they want to forget this reality? Because they are scared, they dread it. They dread it because they don't know where they would be going after death. Because death seems like darkness, like the gate onto a black hole. But for the believers, it's different. For the believers prefer and choose to remain aware of this reality. Actually, this is what we're taught in the Quran. Remain aware, and that's what the Prophet ﷺ teaches us. Always be aware of the reality of death. Because when we are aware of the reality of death, and therefore the reality of transience of everything, kullu nafsin means every soul, everything, whatever you can imagine is bound to taste death, is passing, does not last, is not lasting. So when we are aware of this reality, it gives, or the believers, let's say, it gives them a true perspective of what matters the most. Because, for instance, their relationship with their Rabb, that's lasting. So death and transience gives the believers a perspective of the place of the world in relationship to the hereafter, and how this world is significant only as far as it reflects the enduring face of God, only because it's coming from God, reflecting the face of God, reflecting the beautiful names of God, reminding us of our sustainer, telling us who we are and who our sustainer is, and leaving back to where they're coming from. only that's the function of the world, that's the function of the ayah, and that's what makes it significant. If there is no such a function, if there is no such, if we are unaware of this connection, then in itself, it's nothing. It is only our delusion. And if you remember in Surah Al-Rahman, we are told كل من عليها فان ويبقى وجه ربك ذو الجلال والإكرام. All that lives on it, on the earth or in the heavens, is bound to pass away, is passing, except forever will abide your Rabb, your sustainers, wajhu, countenance, face, full of majesty and glory. Everything passes except that relationship, that connection with God, that aspect of things that mirrors and reflect the face of God, the beautiful names of God. That's the only aspect that looks to eternity, that looks to true lastingness. And in somewhere else in the Quran, we are also told, La ilaha illahu, kullu shay'in halikun illa wajha. There is no God, nothing worth worshipping except Him. Why? Because look around you, everything is passing, everything is perishing. Something perishing cannot be a God. It means we cannot worship it. Why? It is not the source of anything. It is itself being made. It cannot be the source of being, the source of existence, the source of goodness. And therefore, it cannot help you. You cannot seek help from it. It cannot even help itself. How can it help you?
Dr. Yamina, there is a question here on the chat box. It says, even things in the heavens pass? Question mark.
What do you mean in the heavens?
Can you speak, Mehar?
What it means that things can only last as long as they are held into existence. That's what it means. There are things that seems to last more than others, but it's only because that's how they are made. In itself, even if I cannot see its end, in itself, it has nothing that necessitates its existence. It has nothing that it can say, I am here and I'm not going to go. That's what it means. And we can understand this when we reflect on its meaning as far as we are concerned. When we don't reflect on its meaning, it seems like I am alive, I exist, I'm here, and that's it. But when I pause and start questioning, what does it mean that I exist? What does it mean that I'm here? I am here doesn't mean that it seems like it means I'm here for good, forever. No, there was a time when I was not here. I was brought here. And I know, looking at around me, that one day I won't be here. Do I have a say about it? Like, do I get to decide when to come and when to leave? No. Why? Because I have nothing in me that makes me have even a control, even if it was not mine, but like I have control over it at least. No, I don't have control over that. I don't have a switch on and off for my breath, for my life. It's totally done unto me. And we can use this as a unit of measurement to understand everything around us. Everything is being created, being given existence. That's what it means. It is not from that thing. Unless someone or something, unless they have the power of being it is, they can't be God, they can't be the source of anything. So that's why, like, were it not for its connection to its sustainer, the world or anything in the world cannot even subsist, cannot carry on its existence. And that's why in itself, the world is worth nothing. In itself does not exist in reality. The world does not exist in itself. But in the perception of the deluded, in the perception of ghafla, either ghafla or totally disbelief, it seems like the world, things exist on their own. Because in ghafla, we do not deny the sustainer, we do not deny the creator, but the heart is not convinced yet, because it has not internalized that reality through observation, shahada, and reflection, so that shahada becomes not only through the tongue, but through our whole being. So it becomes like two different realities, one claim God creates, and when I perceive things, it feels like they exist on their own. In reality, there is no such a thing. So exist on their own is the delusion of disbelief or the delusion of ghafla. Why is it a delusion? Because it is a misperception, a perception of things in disconnection with the source of their being. And of course, the source of my being in that state, the two perceptions are parallel and they mirror each other and reflect each other. And that's why reflecting is so important, because when we reflect, we are observing and internalizing what we are seeing and feeling and experiencing until that reality is our reality. It's not something that I'm just saying without ever having witnessed it or observed it or experienced it. So I have, without the shahada, I cannot be a true believer. I would just imitation is not acceptable in Islam. That's for that reason. And so it's, at least theoretically, we can understand that the world is significant because of its connection to its Rabb, because it's coming from him, and therefore, and how do we know it's coming from him? Because it reflects the enduring face of God, because it reflects his beautiful attributes. But in itself, if we forget about the source and start perceiving things, oh, they existed in themselves, rahmatan, out of mercy, Allah made them all ephemeral and transient. Everything is transient, so that we cannot sleep for long if we have a good intention, because after a while it doesn't make sense. How come they exist on their own, but there is no source, but everything keeps going and something else is coming? So, but when we are stuck into that disconnectedness and view ourselves and the world in disconnection to their source of being, the Rabb, then everything is ephemeral and it is like a mirage, we are told in the Quran. In Surah An-Nur, we're told those who, those who disbelieve, their deeds are like a mirage in a desert, which the thirsty perceive as water, until when they approach it, they find it to be nothing. So from far, here, far means when we are either in time or in attitude, when we're not really considering something. It seems like everything is alive of its own. It exists on its own. It is beautiful on its own. It is strong on its own. It is effective on its own. Life gives water. And if you don't believe me, just don't water your plants and you will see. That's how it seems in Ghafla. But until when they approach it, when the reality hits us, when we're confronted by the reality, when we cannot look at it from far, with Ghafla, they find it to be nothing. Instead, that's exactly what a mirage is. From far, it looks like water. When you get there, you see that there is nothing. Instead, they find God there, ready to settle their account in full, for God is swift in reckoning. Subhanallah. So this world is created with meaning and with purpose. It doesn't take long to realize that. Actually, even people who don't believe in any God or anything, they're still all busy trying to and the meaning of the world around them. So at least implicitly, people agree that there is meaning and purpose. Everyone is looking for meaning and purpose in their own life too, because without meaning and purpose, we cannot survive. It is for the soul, it is like water and air and food. So, and at the same time, it is passing. So we have meaning and purpose, and everything is passing all the time. So this looks like confusing unless it is explained to us in the Quran. If it were not explained to us in the Quran, this is very confusing. But in the Quran, we are told that this passing, these beautiful things, meaningful, purposeful things are always coming and leaving, and everything is passing, is an ayah. It is an indication to another lasting realm. These things are coming from somewhere else. They proceed from somewhere else, and they are returning to wherever they're coming from. And so we start asking the questions of where are they coming from? Where are they going? Where did we come from? Where are we going? And so the believers who know God as their sustainer here and now, they have no doubt that it is He, that He is their Rabb. If He is my Rabb here and now, there's no doubt that He is my Rabb tomorrow. Because He's been my Rabb here and now is all the time. Since I'm born, He is my Rabb. And that certainty is what makes them sure that they do belong to Him and they exist through His sustaining, and to Him they are returning. And that's why we're told in the Quran, Huwa Rabbukum wa ilayhi turja'un. He is your sustainer, and therefore unto Him you are returning. Where else can we return? There is no other source of being. There is nowhere else. Anything else is created by Him. And everything else, whatever is created, is like us passing and going back to Him. And that's why we're also told, Huwa yuhyi wa yumit wa ilayhi turja'un. This wa ilayhi turja'un, and to Him you are returning, is repeated so many times in the Quran. It's very important that everything returns to God, and especially for us to be certain, to have that certainty that we are returning to him. Where is yesterday? Where is last year? Where is 2 years ago? They already went before us. We've already sent the past, is already our future. So huwa yuhyi wa yumitu wa ilayhi turja'un, it means he alone gives life and deals death, and therefore unto him you all are returning. And this return is emphasized because we need that repetition and that emphasis. We need it because when we don't know that where we are returning, then we'll be too scared to accept transience and death. And so we numb ourselves, we avoid it at all costs. And because we are avoiding it, we don't see the signs, the ayat. And because we don't see the signs and we don't learn to read them, then we're stuck into the disconnectedness and that things just happen to be like that on their own. And our claim that God creates everything remains irrelevant to how we live our life, truly, inwardly, especially. It does not bring us healing. It does not bring us good news. And that's why this كل نفس ذائقة الموت is repeated. And we are also told كل نفس ذائقة الموت ثم إلينا ترجعون. Every soul is bound to taste death, and then ثم, and then onto us you are returning. And to know with certainty that we are returning to God is part of Iman bil Akhirah, belief in the hereafter, which is a pillar of belief, because if we don't have certainty in Akhirah, it means here and now, it's going to have an effect on how we live our life. It's going to have an effect on how we perceive life and how we interact with everything. It means we are not still aware that everything is an ayah. Everything is an ayah means everything is created with purpose and meaning. They are bearing purpose and meaning. They are messengers speaking to us, declaring to us the purpose and the meaning. And at the end of that purpose and meaning are the names of God, are for us to know God. Everything is making our Rabb known to us. And that's our need, the need of our soul, like the air and water of the soul, is to know who our Rabb is, that he is compassionate, that he is merciful, that he is all powerful, that he is the giver of life. These are all things that we need to be certain about. Because otherwise, without that certainty, it's like having a disconnection there with God, and therefore there is nowhere else to turn. And that's why we are told in Surah Al-Baqarah again, and seek help in steadfast patience and prayer. And this is indeed a hard thing for all except the humble in spirit. Remember? The arrogant, disbelief, arrogance, belief, humility. So except the humble in spirit, who know with certainty that they are to meet their Rabb, their sustainer, and that unto him they are to return. So you see, how belief is always related to this certainty of meeting the sustainer. They are meeting the sustainer, meeting him through his creation right now. In Surah al-Mu'minun, which is Surah 23, we are told, truly, they who stand in reverent awe of their sustainer, their Rabb, and who believe in their sustainer's ayat, and who therefore do not ascribe, do not commit shirk, how do you say, do not ascribe partners to anyone with their sustainer, and who give whatever they have to give with their hearts trembling at the thought that unto their sustainer they are to return. You see all these things, how intricately connected they are. It's almost like tapestry, you know, they are woven. All this believing in God means being aware of the transience, not running away from it, because whatever is created with purpose and meaning. Then they realize everything is an ayah. They interact with everything as an ayah. They get the messages about who their Rabb is, his compassion, his power, his everlastingness. He's the one who is hosting us in this world, taking care of us, giving us life, and therefore death is from him. It's not the end of everything as it may feel like. And then all these observations, all this shahada, all this is being experienced, lived in the world. We become witnesses. We witness. Our iman is increasing. We start living with ihsan, and we are sure that we are living in the presence of our Rabb, and therefore we are in a state of returning to him. And that's, we have no doubt about akhirah here and now. So the believers know that they are returning to God. And so why is this important? They live accordingly right now, since they don't know when and where they will die. As we are told in Surah Luqman, I think we did study Surah Luqman together. There is a very moving passage full of compassion about this topic. We're told, all people, be conscious of your sustainer and stay in awe of the day on which no parent will be of any avail to his child, nor a child will in the least avail his parent. Truly, God's promise is true indeed. God's promise of akhirah, of resurrection. Let not then the life of this world delude you, and let not your own deceptive thoughts about God delude you. Because we say God is merciful, and then there's no God in our life. So he is merciful, but I am not connected to his mercy. So at the end, I won't benefit from the mercy, nothing to do. It doesn't mean that God is not merciful anymore. And in the last ayah, these are the last ayat of Surah Luqman. And then we are told, truly, with God alone rests the knowledge of when the last hour will come. And it is he who sends down rain, and he alone knows what is in the wombs, whereas no one knows what he will reap tomorrow, and no one knows in what land he will die. Truly, God alone is all-knowing, all-aware. Subhanallah, sadaqallahu azim. So this is all very important to not only to know, but also, inshallah, to confirm, because what is at stake is our eternal life. I think it's the most important thing in this topic, or these topics topics are the most important things in our life. Everything else should be to give us the opportunity to these topics and then arrange our life so we can reflect and apply these teachings, because what is at stake is our eternal life, our eternal future. And that's why here in Receiving Nur, we emphasize learning to listen to the Quran. And accordingly, when we listen to the Quran, what are we taught in the ayat of the Quran? We are taught how to read, how to decipher, iqra. We are taught how to do the iqra of the ayat, the signs of God in the world and in His name, not as I wish. And so when we're attentive to the ayat, to the signs, the indications in the Quran and in the creation, in the world, so we're actually learning to live with iman, with faith, with belief, and with ihsan. Ihsan is the being mindful. When the more there is iman, and the more we become mindful witnesses of that iman in the world and within ourselves.
Dr. Yamina, is this a good time to take a question? It looks like somebody wants to.
Any time is a good time.
Okay, a question or a comment, I don't know. Naima, your hand is up. Did you want to say something?
Yeah, Assalamualaikum. So I had a question. Okay, so I understand not being fearful of dying, because you know that there's like a continuation of life. But isn't there fear from dying without pleasing Allah? Because there's like a fear with arrogance, like I got this, I'm good, right? And then there's another fear with like humility, like I don't know that I earned my place. Yes. And so I feel like, I don't know. I mean, I understand not fearing dying, but
and we talked about it in the past, I am sure.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear you. Hello?
No, carry on.
Oh, yeah. You know, it's just about like the certainty, like just like I guess like part of our work here on this earth is like we're not sure that we're gonna get to the place that we desire, and so the fear that comes from like not being sure is what kind of earns us our place once we actually do the work. I don't know. It's just a reflection and a question. Like, isn't there a difference in the type of fear? That's all.
Yeah, thank you. So as I said, we did talk about it, and actually probably we also talked about it within the context of this surah as well. If you remember in ayah 16, we did talk about how the believers, they are restless in their beds and they wake up at night to pray, because to call out on their sustainer in fear and hope. So it's not only because of death, but all the time. But it's not the same fear as when there is disbelief or ghafla. When there is ghafla, that fear there is despair in it, and it is a fear of death itself. With the believer, there is a fear not only when I'm dying, but because when something is happening and there is true danger, but even when everything seems okay, because the believer knows that anytime he can leave, and not only, even if I was not leaving, this day is leaving, and this day I may not have done my best this day. So there is always asking for forgiveness, because I know there is always room for doing better, but I may not be doing my better. So there is fear of how do you say, what's the opposite of failing? Of failing myself, of failing my Rabb, of failing the purpose of my creation. And there is together, that's what the ayah said, fear and hope. And this fear does not lead the believer to despair, because it's always balanced with the hope of God's mercy and his guidance. So this fear, it's a healthy fear. It leads us to ask for forgiveness and ask for help. If I feel I am weak in following God's guidance, I recognize my weakness and I seek refuge with him. So that way I am not going into, how do you say, nurturing the ego and saying I made a list and I'm doing the best and I'm waking up at night and praying at night and everything. Who else would go to paradise but me? I have no fear. I can now sleep in peace. No, that's exactly what they don't do. They don't sleep at peace, because whatever, the more their belief increase, the more belief increase means belief that in my Rabb, it means my awareness of ubudiyya increases. What is abd? Abd is, in a sense, I can say, he is zero before my Rabb. It means the more someone has iman, has belief in God, the more he is conscious, he is aware that he is totally dependent on his Rabb. And when I mean totally, I mean 100%. Sometimes it seems to us that I am dependent on my Rabb, but I can do some things. That I can do is my illusion. It's the illusion of there is a missing iman there, yet my iman is still not complete. That's why it seems to me. So when we are talking about this belief, if that's why I'm talking about it from the perspective of belief, not the perspective of doing. Because if we look at the doing, I don't know if someone is doing it from belief or doing it from relying on his ego. Someone could be waking up at night, doing all the fastings and everything, but saying, you see, I am a very good practicing, I'm practicing the best, I'm the best performer. That's not what the Quran is talking about here. And that would I don't know if it's possible not to have fear, because deep down everyone knows the reality, the truth that however much someone relies on their deeds, they know deep down that nothing is in their hand, nothing is under their control. So there is the fear when we are disconnected. That fear has despair in it, and it is a fear of death itself. And there is the fear of the believer, which is a fear of God, of fear of not being a worthy worshipper of God. It is out of love for him. And it is a fear from our own ego rearing its head from time to time and saying, how about me? What do you mean everything is God? I'm totally dependent of God. I am the one who choose this. Okay, God creates it, but I choose it. So the ego wants to get a piece of the cake as well. So there is fear of falling into the trap of the ego, together with, but there is always hope. So there is no despair in this, in this fear. It is not a paralyzing fear. It is a fear that increases our taking refuge in God. It is a fear that increases our awareness of how needy of guidance we are. So we become more and more aware of how the intense, like someone getting more and more hungry will, the more the hungrier the person is, the more they can appreciate the food. And so the more there is this fear, the more we realize that we cannot rely on ourselves. And so our appreciation of divine guidance, our need for it, increases. So it is a healthy, it is a good fear. And also the believer, even when there is fear, there is always an underlying inner peace. And there is always an underlying inner trust in God, because the more you know God, the more there is a connection with Him. Connection with Him, because everything in us is from Him. I hope that's
yeah, alhamdulillah. That answered my question. I'm sorry if you guys went through that in the other sessions because I missed them. So thank you.
No, it's okay, alhamdulillah. Thank you. We need to be reminded again and again. So thank you for asking.
Dr. Yamina, maybe can we say that there are perhaps 3 types of fear? So one fear of death. Yeah, the one fear of death is because we are unaware of the fact that death is a transition, and that's a very kind of
Fitri
and a kind of terrifying fear.
You mean before we learn about?
Yeah. Before we recognize that no, this is really just the beginning. It's just an appetizer.
Before we recognize the meaning of that.
Yeah. So then there's another fear, as which you are talking about, where we recognize that this world is a seed bed. It's a field where for the eternal harvest and to seek God's beautiful names, and we're in a journey. And as you said, we can't ever be sure that we are going to get there. So we're between fear and hope, but there is a healthy fear. And then there's a third fear, and that is the fear of the person who recognizes that this world is a field for the hereafter. This is so it's not like the first fear where the person is terrified. This is it. At the same time, due to ghafla, due to laziness, due to ghafla, this person is not doing any attempt to prepare toward that, and so there is a fear because he knows he's going in the wrong direction, but he doesn't want to also wake up or put her life in order. So
I think fear is also terrifying.
Yeah, that fear is because it's like a student, as you were talking, like it's like a student, like one person doesn't even know that she's a student, so she thinks people who are graduating are being kicked out and killed, so she's terrified as the days pass. The other one knows that I'm here for a while, I'm going to be graduating, going somewhere else, but can't be 100% if she's going to graduate well or she's going to be in the honor list. She's working hard, she doesn't. And the other guy, the person knows that this is a school and there's graduation, nobody's being executed, they're not kicked out, and yet she doesn't go to classes. So she also has a fear, which is neither the first nor the second. It's not a healthy fear in the sense that it keeps her going. It's more a fear of knowing that for a silly reason I'm wasting my life. And so I don't want to think about death because I want to keep this bubble, even though um, like it doesn't make sense for me to do that. So I think perhaps sometimes I sometimes see myself, going back and forth between the two fears, the healthy fear and the fear of um, knowing that you aren't doing your best, or even uh, something towards that goal that I believe in. So
I mean, we
that's
can never be sure we are doing our best, but at least make istighfar and ask for forgiveness, because I think we all know that we could do better.
So, Yamina, I have another question, which is like the question that I've been asked once, and it's about like what makes you wake up in the morning wanting to start a new day, and that ties into what you're speaking about, like we are here to be witnesses of the beautiful names of God. And that's another thermometer for us. If we do not feel like we want to wake up in the morning to witness these names, and we'd rather shut ourselves out of the world or wish death upon ourselves, that means also there's something, like it's a red flag, another red flag for the state of
I
affairs.
think that's a flag for a state of despair. I think it's, I mean, definitely there is a disconnection with the reality, but there is even a disconnection. The person is disconnected with their selves as well. So that's, I think it's a big red flag. That person needs assistance.
I feel that person is in everyone. At least I feel that person in me. Like not
You
every
mean,
day, but that person also is in me.
you mean not in a
not in a 100%, but there are days that like
not
you
chronic,
don't.
not in a chronic.
No, but there are times that you don't know what,
I
like why
see.
you're waking up, what is there, like
I see what you mean. Like
so,
maybe levels and degrees of
yes,
excitement about that.
yes, but it also like I think it's also a red flag for me. It tells me that like that clarity about what am I doing here on earth, what is my purpose on earth. Like it seems like maybe people are like me, like you're either running in a treadmill, that you're on a treadmill, you have goal 1, goal 2, goal 3, goal 4, that are taking you away from the reality of why you are here as abd. But sometimes when these are not there, then you feel like, what am I doing here? Although actually now is your time to figure out really what are you doing here. I don't know if that is off topic or it's on topic, but when you're thinking, like when you're saying like the day comes in and you don't know, like, you should be wondering, because this could be your last day. Like, what do you want out of your last day on earth? Like, this is, things are passing and you are here to witness. So it ties in a little bit with, I think, what Naima is saying. If we are not feeling like, if I'm really not grateful for the day that I have and that I woke up and had another chance to be grateful, then I must be checking myself. Then I must be trying to figure out what went wrong.
Maybe when you said, like sometimes we live our life like on a treadmill, like we have a list of things to do. And sometimes it's so much that you feel like there is a fear of staying still. We have to always be busy with something so that we never with ourselves, because we don't want to face the reality of life, which is in this case transience, and because it is terrifying, I think. So people have different ways of dealing with that fear of transience, fear of death eventually. I mean, even secular modern psychology, they say that all psychological problems boil down to fear, and all fears boil down to the fear of death. So that's being like on a treadmill, and as if someone is like, we're trying to run away from something. We are running away from that terrifying, what seems to us like a reality. And maybe that's what Isra was saying, the first, she called it fear one. So actually, because people are afraid, if we stop and face it, it's too painful because there is no meaning. But actually, if we stay and with that painful reality, that painful reality will start speaking to us that on one hand, things are so meaningful, so there is so much purpose and meaning. On the other hand, nothing lasts. But maybe this second step is, that's why we need the guidance, divine guidance. And whoever created us, our Rabb, knows how he created us. We really dread the transience of goodness, the transience of meaning. And that's why he created it that way. And that way is a clear area that we can't run away from. We can run away from by going on the treadmill is more like Imam Nursi, rahimahullah, he says it's like, what was it? An ostrich putting its head in the sand. I mean, and there is a hunter after it. The hunter is still there. The hunter still sees the big body, but the ostrich doesn't see the hunter anymore. So it's the same with us. We are not thinking of death. It doesn't mean that it's not there. And deep down, we know that. That's why when we are in that state, we can never find true inner peace. Because when you have that true inner peace, even in the outwardly hardest conditions, there is that sakina, that peacefulness that Allah gives to the believers, we are told in the Quran. And you can see that in Surah Yusuf alayhi salam. He is in what seems to us as dreadful, terrifying situations, but the way and there is a very minute, detailed description of what's going on. And in that description, it doesn't say that he is scared or terrified or anything. Subhanallah. He is always at peace. So from outside to us, it seems like big waves, big roller coaster is going on in his life. But when you look at him, how he's perceiving it, it's all very peaceful because he's always aware that it is from God. It doesn't mean that, for instance, when he is in prison, he wants to leave. It doesn't mean that he doesn't have feelings or he likes where he is, or prison and being in prison or being free is all the same. No, it doesn't mean that. But it means even in prison, because he knows it is not happening without meaning or purpose, he can surrender. He can make peace with that reality. He can be patient.
Okay, so maybe like tying in what Naima's question was and this discussion, then maybe our goal, and this is where like Jazakallah khair, thank you very much for for taking this time with us as Sarah's brother passed away to bring all of this to us. Then our goal is to find peace, sakina, in every situation. So like when I was asking, maybe I don't know if I did enough. So maybe instead of thinking did or did not do enough, maybe our question be, do I have sakina? in spite of whatever I'm going through. Like, could I have sakina with you know, with things like things that are passing away, whether they're loved ones or things that I
Sakina
want to
is
hold
given.
on.
Sakina is not for me to bring into myself. Sakina is given. For me, what my part is two things. One is in answer, actually, it doesn't come first, but in answer to what Naima said. If I feel that what I'm doing is lacking, that's the fact for me, then I need to take that as an incentive, a motivator, a factor to motivate me to do something better. And there is no, I cannot just say that, oh, like, notice that. And if I don't do anything different the next day, then it will be painful. And it's good that it will be painful. Because can you imagine, I noticed that I am not doing what I am supposed to be doing, whatever my level is, whatever my understanding is. And I'm not taking action accordingly. Of course, Allah won't make me feel good about it, because if I felt good about it, then it won't be fair, and it won't be mercy. It will be like, you made me feel good about it and then you want me to move. No, Allah makes us feel not good about it. It becomes something that nags at us until we take that decision. It's always, it's like the difference between 0 and 1, between not doing and doing, is a decision. You make a decision, you choose, and you start doing it. Yes, when we start doing something new, another part of us will start saying, why are you doing this? This is, I'm not used to this, because we are going out of our zone of comfort. But our zone of comfort, if we stay with it from the beginning, there will be no iman, nothing, no ibadah, no worship, nothing, because the ego wants to stay in control, wants to stay in its bubble of delusion. And anything that's in that delusion, the ego is its own Rabb, claims ownership of everything. But it's all lies. And deep down, everyone knows it, and no one can say, no, I own my life and everything. But how do we keep that delusion? By not asking question, by not questioning that delusion, those lies, and therefore by not going into the light of truth that the Quran invites us to. We stay in that, well, for some it's darkness, for us in Ghafla it's like half dark, but we want to stay there. There's a part of us that's always pulling us. And what we are going to do, we say, you can say whatever you want, I am going to do this. And we start one step at a time. What we are going to start, the most important thing is reflecting on the ayat of the Quran. Once we get a glimpse of reality, we start implementing those ayat in our life. That implementation starts with inner reflection first. It may seem like, oh, this is easy, since it's not something to do out there, it's easy. No, it is the most difficult. Take 10 minutes, 20 minutes in the morning, 20 minutes in the evening, and just reflect on an ayah from the Quran that you just learned the meaning. Reflect on the meaning. You don't have to reflect from the beginning. if you don't know all the rules and all the Arabic, you already studied it. Go and reflect with the outcome, and just listen to it. How does it unfold inside, outside? Stay with it until that ayah, you will see the world through the lenses of that ayah. How will it transform you? How will it transform your life? Because when we do that, when we learn to read the God in the world in his name, it becomes easier to take action. Easier, because still there is decision to make. But it becomes easier because now we have the evidence. We know, we are seeing it, we're witnessing it. It becomes easy, for instance, to be grateful because I am seeing purpose and meaning even in difficulty, even in pain, even in illness. It's not easy if I see it as painful. I don't see any meaning in it, any purpose in it, but I say, God created it. I have not even witnessed that God is creating it, but I say, since God is creating it, since he said, be grateful, I have to be grateful. No, you can't be grateful. That you can't fake things. There is no iman there. There is no shahada there. So we have to start there. We have to start from the inner reflecting. First, reflecting on the ayat of the Quran, because that's guidance. It is guiding us on how to deal, how to read, how to get the message of the ayat in the creation. Those ayat, we have to internalize them through reflection. Then it becomes easier to act upon them. And then I have to take action and act upon them. And sometimes I will act and sometimes I will forget, or I will go back to my old ways. But the more we make, I took one step forward, then a step backward. When I take a step backward, I'll say, okay, ask for forgiveness and ask for help, and make again the intention and choose to take a step. The second step, if I truly made my intention and asked for help and said to do it, whatever is going to happen, it means I am choosing, even though a part of me is still pulling me in the old ways of being, then this time it will be made easier on me, and I'll take 2-3 steps. I'll find that, oh, and so when I go back one step, this time I'm still ahead 2 steps. And this way, until in that field, going forward becomes my new way of being, until it becomes so tasteful, so delicious to the soul that I won't hear that voice that wants me to go back, at least in that area of my life. And when we are freed in one area of our life, it becomes easier in the second area, it becomes even easier in the third area, and so on and so forth. So there is an inner work to do. But that inner work starts with reflecting, Quran, creation, internalizing, implementing. And remember, the ayat are so important. In last week, when was it? Probably last week, when we read ayah 15, what was it saying in ayah 15? It started with, the people who truly believe in our ayat are only, and then those people are called the believers, because there is no belief without belief in the ayat of God. We only know God through his ayat in the Quran and in the creation. And the ayat in the Quran makes no sense on their own if there are no ayat in the creation. Confirm them to be the evidence of their truthfulness. So if we have not learned to read the ayat, that's why the first revelation is اقرأ باسم ربك. اقرأ, read. So there is no true belief. It says إنما المؤمنون إنما يؤمن بآياتنا الذين. It's saying those who do not do this and that, they are not believers in our ayat.
It's making more sense, yeah. You mentioned something now. You said once you get a hang of it, like keep at it, it'll be made easier. Then you said try applying it in one area of your life at a time. So by that you mean like one aspect of your life, whether it be inner life, home,
You
work,
took an ayat.
that, yeah, or
Yeah.
one
You
ayat
understood it as referring to, if you say sometimes there is another way of making us lose hope. You're saying, oh, this ayah will, how can I apply it to all my life and this and that? You have not even started. Start whatever you understand now, whatever you can do now. For instance, the ayah that's coming now. Let's take it as an example. وَمِمَّا رَزَقْنَاهُمْ يُنْفِقُونَ. So remember, ayah 15 and 16 was telling us, giving us the characteristics, the attributes of the true believers in the ayat of God. And so after saying in ayah 16 that they are restless in their beds, and so they wake up at night and call and pray their Rabb in fear and hope. And then we are told, and who spend from what we provide for them. وَمِمَّا رَزَقْنَاهُمْ يُنْفِقُونَ. By the way, this phrase, this ayah, is repeated many times in the Quran. So the last quality of the believer is infaq. We may not have time to talk about it, but I just, when Alia, when you mentioned that, it came to my mind. Now, when we understand the meaning of this, it's a وَمِمَّا. Okay, it's not saying from, it says from what? It's leaving it open. What does it mean? It's not saying from your wealth. It's not saying from your money. It's not saying from your food. Because it's open, it means everything you think of applies. It can be something material, non-material, knowledge, piety, everything. Friendship, everything. Whatever we gave you. رزقناهم, we gave you as rizq, as sustenance, as something that's beneficial. Not, oh, like I have this, but if it's not beneficial, it's not رزقناهم. ينفقون, they give. We'll talk about it inshallah next week, what nafaqa means, but to give to someone, to help, to give to someone who is going to use it, make good use of it, who needs it. So I can say, oh, this includes everything. Money and food and wealth and friendship. Oh, how can I give all of them? I don't have the means, the time, the patience for all this. And then if I tell myself this and don't practice anything, I'm fooling myself. If I am overwhelmed by this, it means I'm the beginning of the journey. Okay, so why do I want to apply the whole meaning when I am still at the beginning? I say, okay, this ayah, mashallah, tabarakallah, includes all these things. How can I apply it? First, I will start. In order to understand how can I apply it to my life, how can I implement it, where can I start? I have to start reflecting. That's what we miss. Most of the time we don't reflect. Reflecting means I sit down and reflect. Once I do the understanding, we do it whether together or on your own, that's you are studying. No. Once the studying is finished, you really understood, you have no questions. Now you want, what does it mean in your heart? Let your heart familiarize your senses, your feeling, your heart with this reality. The more you internalize it, the more, then you will find that, oh, I can give this. In the beginning, maybe you have enough food to give to someone else, but it doesn't feel like that to you. It feels like I only have enough for myself. Okay, but the more you internalize it, you will find something to give. And then if you start giving friendship, for instance, you start giving good words, smiles in your family, in the street, in the people around you, being kind to them. If you say, this is easy for me, I can do this. The kinder you are, the more it becomes, this ayah will start unfolding, giving its barakah into you, and you will find that when I am giving, what I'm giving is not decreasing in me. It's the opposite. It's not like when I'm kind to people, at the end I'm like, enough. Like I become, how do you say? More bitter. No, because I've given all my kindness away. There's not, I am not the source. You will become, if you are truly doing it, مِمَّا رَزَقْنَاهُمْ, not from me. Because when I'm internalizing, I'll realize that, yes, it is given to me. So as I am giving, oh, subhanAllah, it is given to me. Am I giving from me or from him? Am I giving from me or from him? Yes, I'm giving from him when I am in delusion, when I forget and I think I'm the source. Astaghfirullah. Even if I am not ready to give my wealth, not ready to give this and that, but I say, okay, I will try it in this. Can you see that I am having a training in Iman, in surrender, and realizing that it's not from me, it's from him? If I become certain that the kindness is not from me, it's from him, then I will recognize him as the source of kindness, and it will be easier for me to accept that he is the giver of wealth. And so slowly I'll find myself sharing and giving some of my wealth. And the more I give, sometimes I'll forget, I'll say I gave, and then I say, when I'm giving, I choose and I leave the best one for myself and give the other one. And they say, something in me, Nafs al-Lawama will say, what are you doing? Why are you choosing this? And then I will realize, remember, everything is fani, transient. I may not even be tomorrow here to use that best for myself. And anyways, he is the giver. And then sometimes Allah, to make it easy on you, out of rahmah, to train you, just when you thought that you gave one that was not the best, and the next day someone comes and gives you something better than all of them, and then you become like you learn humility before God. I thought this was the best. Look, there is even better. What is this? This is all relative. What is the best and what? And more from him. And the more we reflect like this as we are acting, there is two things are happening at the same time. There is a purification from my false belief, my false claim, as that is going on, my Iman is increasing, getting clearer, and getting to know God better. And as I get to know God better, I am more likely to surrender. And all this is happening when I am reflecting as I'm acting. If I learn to reflect 20 minutes in the morning, 20 minutes in the evening, Then when I'm acting, I'm also checking myself and making sure, am I giving in his name, or from what he gave me, or from what I think I have? And I become more and more aware of my false belief, of my assumptions, of my delusions. And as I let go of them, then I become more aware of the reality. I surrender. But all this is also, I am choosing to act in a certain way. But it becomes so delicious, so tasty. The names of God taste so good to the ruh. Life becomes much more colorful, much more exciting, much more meaningful. And so you will look forward, like the day is not enough for everything, for reflecting on all this. And so you don't have that in the morning, like, I don't want to wake up. No, I want to wake up. It's like a new day, new things. The inner life become very, very rich.
Jazakallah khair. That was beautiful. Thank you, Yamina.
So maybe I was going to share the وَمِمَّا رَزَقْنَاهُمْ يُنْفِقُونَ, but maybe we can do it next week, inshallah, if we are still in this life. Our brother, little brother, who passed away, is actually a very young man. Rahimahullah. May Allah give patience to his parents, to his family, to his siblings. ربنا لا تؤاخذنا إن نسينا وأخطأنا ربنا ولا تحمل علينا إسرا كما حملته على الذين من قبلنا ربنا ولا تحملنا ما لا طاقة لنا به واعف عنا واغفر لنا وارحمنا أنت مولانا فانصرنا على القوم الكافرين آمين والحمد لله رب العالمين. I'm stopping here, but if you have something to share, or please go ahead.
You are unmuted. So hearing you, Yamina, talking about the inner life getting so much richer with these reflections, my mind goes to the need for an intensive training in reflection and connecting it to the signs and the ayahs we see and experiencing that enrichment you're talking about. Because believe it or not, even an abstract thinker like myself, I might get lost in the details of how to approach things practically, because sometimes, or many times, I'm not a practical person. What's the word? Poverty, the shortcoming, I'm that's the weakness, perhaps the weakness of skills and approaches sometimes come from not knowing how to approach something specifically, or how to do something specifically, or how to continue something specifically. Sure. And I keep meeting people, adults. I'm talking about adults. I keep meeting adults, both men and women, but more women in my case, who strike me as this. There is a lack of skill that is so basic that probably should have come from parental guidance, but such skills never did. I myself experience this quite often, and I feel that, okay, maybe I should have learned this as a kid, but I haven't. and I'm struggling with this now. And it could be something absolutely simple, that the next person sitting next to you might know it through common sense, through parental upbringing, through any source. But in our case, because we are trying to make sense of everything that we see, good and bad, we are trying to see everything as an ayah, and we're trying to experience that inner enrichment that you just mentioned. It really requires a set of specific skills that need to be shown in practice.
True. Probably, especially because we are all trained in using our analytical mind, but this is more a reflection from the heart. We need to, once we do the understanding, then the internalizing it is more listening and absorbing with the heart rather than thinking. Actually, I did, subhanAllah, this month we are meeting again, inshallah, if it is meant to be. Our intention is to meet in the Diyanat Center in Lanham again this month. And my intention was, let's do basic reflecting, at least like, because we keep talking about it, but from the question, I understand that many questions wouldn't be asked, at least not that way, if we were already doing at least basic reflection. So that's what came to my heart for this month is, let's learn to practice step by step. Last month, I mentioned the steps, but we did not practice them. But this month, inshallah, the intention is to practice them. And yeah, maybe inshallah, we will have a retreat for just learning how to reflect. Inshallah.
Can you please mention again the date? Is it February 15th? And what time?
9:30 to
February 15th, not 21st.
Yeah, the dates are on our Receiving Nur Facebook page as well. So we have February 15, March 22nd.
March 21st or 22nd, sorry.
22nd and April 18th.
Inshallah, if we have someone who would volunteer to record and everything, then we can make them available for those who can't attend, those who are far.
Assalamu alaikum, Sister Yamina.
Wa alaikum salam.
Salam. Yeah, actually, yeah, we were talking about the same thing with Sister Alia. Earlier we met, and there was a khutbah in our community about depression, and then there was a dua which was mentioned, and it's a dua which Prophet ﷺ said, if anyone memorizes it, mainly the thing is, they apply it in their life, then they won't have any they won't have any despair. And so that dua, when I reflected on it, it's telling us again and again, like, to connect to the Quran, So I'll just read the translation of that dua. It is, "O Allah, I am your slave, son of your male servant and son of your female servant. My forelock is in your hand. Your command for me prevails. Your judgment concerning me is just. I beseech you through every name you have by which you have called yourselves, or which you have sent down in your book, or which you have taught to any one of your creations, or which you have preferred to Keep to yourself among your guarded secrets to make the great Quran. I asked you to make the great Quran the springtime of my heart, the light of my eyes, the remedy of my grief, and the dispeller of my anxiety. So I think this dua, it will be effective if we, inshallah, if we are able to reflect on the Quran the way we are asked to reflect and then apply it. So inshallah, what you are going to do in the next session and what we all are striving, and I think we struggle with it as well, that we don't give time to ourselves to reflect on it. We read it as knowledge and maybe take some message and then we move on with our lives and we don't stay with it. So first of all, like I myself, I feel that I lack that. And with your exercise, like 10 minutes and 5 minutes, which you introduced in the retreat, I think that's a part of it, but I think we need more, I think, help how to stay with the ayah and reflect on it. So inshallah, then this dua will be, I think it will open to all of us, inshallah.
Inshallah. Thank you for sharing. Thank you.
Is there anyone else who would like to ask a question or offer a comment at this time? Okay, if not, then inshallah we will stop here for today, and inshallah we'll continue next week. And we hope to see those of you who can join us for the physical meeting in DC on February 15, inshallah. Please spread the word and register if you haven't registered. Registration is simply emailing Receiving Nur by telling your name and your intention to participate, inshallah. And let's keep each other and in dua. And inshallah we'll meet again. Jazakumullah khair, Dr. Yamina, for to this
Keep
course.
each other, and let's keep Sarah and her family especially. I think they need it. Our prayer, inshallah.
Inshallah, and everyone.
And our beloved ones, everyone has someone who has.
Yes. Yeah. All the loved ones that has in the world. Yes, and may Allah make us among those who take heed, inshallah.
Inshallah.
Jazakumullah khair. Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi ta'ala wa barakatuh. Fi amanillah.
Isra and Yamina, can we meet just very shortly, please?